Hey, this is Jill Simonello with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and this week we are checking out the 2021 Toyota RAV4 Prime. All right, what's up with this Prime stuff? Well, that means that this is a plug-in hybrid, and I've just spent a little bit of time in this vehicle. I took a road trip to Indianapolis, and I've come to the conclusion that I think this is probably one of the more perfect SUVs that you can currently buy. So, in this review, I'm going to talk a little bit about the plug-in hybrid system, and I'm going to tell you what I like and a couple things that I didn't like, but basically at the end of the day, you're going to walk away understanding why I think this is a pretty great SUV. So, let's take a closer look right now. All right, I'm just going to jump right into my like list because, frankly, a lot of what I like about this vehicle has to do with this right here, and that is the powertrain. So this comes with a 2.5-liter engine that is mated to an electric motor. And combined total output is going to be 302 horsepower. Now, what you have to keep in mind is initially, if you have this all charged up, you're going to be in completely electric mode, which means your torque is going to be fairly instantaneous, and that makes this a lot of fun. So Toyota estimates that the 0 to 60 mile per hour time for this vehicle is 5.7 seconds. That's pretty fast for an SUV. So during my test period, I found that I had zero problems merging with traffic or trying to pass slow traffic on the highway. And frankly, not only was that while it was in electric only mode, but also while it was in the hybrid mode and I was using the gasoline engine combined with the electric motor. Now, one more thing that I'd like to point out about this before we move away from thing number one on my list is that the EPA estimates you should get about 36 miles per gallon in highway driving with hybrid mode. And I will tell you, drove to Indianapolis and back, and I was averaging 37.3 miles per gallon by the time I got back. So majority of highway miles with a little bit of city driving thrown in. Of course, you do have to take all that with a little bit of a grain of salt because I'm not calculating it using my own math. I'm trusting the onboard trip computer, but I will tell you, there and back to Indianapolis, and I still have more than a quarter tank of gas. Now, moving to thing number two on my like list, we're still kind of talking about the hybrid powertrain because I love the fact that this will actually plug into my 120 volt garage jack and I can be completely charged in 12 hours. So standard with the SE trim, you will get a 3.3 kilowatt onboard charger, and that will charge this at about 12 amps. So 12 hours, you come home from work, you plug it in, you get up the next morning, you're ready to go. However, this is the XSE trim, so the available 6.6 kilowatt charger is on here. And granted, I don't have a 240 volt plug, but if I did, it would charge this in 2.5 hours at 32 amps. So you've got 12 hours, you've got 2.5 hours, you have some options in terms of charging, but for an everyday commuter car, I think it's pretty awesome. Now, the really awesome thing is that you're looking at an EPA estimated 42 miles of electric range. So once you're at 100% charge, you hop on the highway, you're driving through the city, 42 miles, all electric. Your gasoline engine does not kick on once. So what I found is that driving to Indianapolis, when I was doing some city driving and I got stuck in some stop and go traffic and then I did regular highway speeds, I got about 40 miles of electric range. However, when I was driving highway speeds, and we're talking Indiana highway speeds, so 70 miles per hour, and maybe a little bit over that, but I was still able to get 34 miles of all electric range. So either way, it was enough to get me out of the city center of both locations, Chicago and Indianapolis, and well placed on the highway where I was going to be driving an even speed to get the best possible fuel economy. As I mentioned when I was talking about the engine, when it switched over into hybrid mode, I was getting 37.3 miles per gallon, and the highway estimate is actually 36, so I did better. So I got what the estimate is for the electric range when I was doing some combined driving, and I got better than the EPA estimates when I was in hybrid mode. And that is thing number two on my list because I was getting what they estimated in real world driving situations. So that's number two. All right, let's step inside and power this up to talk about things number 3 and 4 on my like list. I like that intro graphic there, but I have to tell you, in general, thing number 3 is going to be the overall interior styling. This is an XSE trim, so it does have some extras on it, including these really attractively styled seats with some nice stitching and accents, but you'll also have this available 9-inch screen. I like the navigation system. I love how the traffic will pop up on the screen once you start driving, and I even most especially like the fact that you have both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay available here. Now I will point out, it is wired in, but it works really well. Now, thing number 4 on my list falls into the category of what I call marriage savers. And there are a trio of features that will allow both me and my husband to compatibly live in this vehicle. So first up, we will start with the dual climate control. I typically like it in the 70s, yet when my husband is in here, he is typically about there. So more often than not, our climate control will look something like this, and frankly, actually, it's probably going to look more like that. I know, I'm weird. But the other thing that we've got going on here is heated and cooled seats. So as you can see, I've got my heated seats on. If my husband were here, he'd be putting the cooled seats on. So you have a really nice environment for 2 different people of 2 different climate needs. Now, the third thing on the marriage saver list, so this will round out thing number 4 on my list, is going to be the memory presets for the driver's seat. So driver number 1, driver number 2, you can set it up so that your seats, your mirrors, and everything like that are in the memory function, and then as you switch up drivers, you don't have to complain, oh, I'm too close to the wheel, oh, I'm too far away from the wheel. So I really like the fact that you've got these 3 features that will keep 2 very different drivers and passengers happy. Now, the final thing on my like list is going to be really important to anyone who is going to be spending a lot of time in their vehicle, and that is going to be the general seat comfort. And what I found, 3.5 hours to Indianapolis, 3.5 hours back, and I really like this seat. I didn't get tired, I didn't get sick of it, I didn't get stiff. The padding is just right. It's a little bit squishy with a nice firm bit right under your glutes, and you have all of these different adjustments going on. So lumbar adjustment in and out, doesn't go up and down, but it does go in and out. You've got your seat back adjustments, and you've got your forward and backward adjustments, but you also have a seat bottom adjustment that moves it up or down, so it gives you the right angle as you are reaching the pedals. So personally, I like to tilt the seat down so that I can kind of recline while I'm driving, but I know some people like to have that seat bottom up a little bit so they're in a more upright position, and this will accommodate all of those things. So sitting in the driver's seat, especially with the driver's position, the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, which is also another available feature. Yeah, and it's 100 degrees and I still had all of those things on. Don't ask questions. But I just really like the fact that all of those things are available and really provided an optimal, comfortable position for me, the driver. So now I want to check out what's in the back seat. Now, I'll be honest, there are not a lot of amenities back here, but there are a couple of very important things that make this a very habitable back seat for kids or rear seat passengers, not only for a commute to and from school, but also for a road trip. First thing back here is going to be the USB charge ports. Very important, you don't want those devices to die. The other thing is these seats are also really comfortable. Often I'll find in a vehicle, this seat is the most comfortable one in the vehicle. And then you move into the back seat and you're like, ooh, ow, ooh, no. Back here, this actually has the right amount of padding. It's pretty squishy. Now, there are not HVAC controls, but there are air vents back here. So not an ideal situation, but not a complete loss either. So I'm going to consider all of this number 5 on my like list to round things out. seating comfort is really important, and this has it. All right, it is time to move on to those things that I do not like on the Toyota RAV4 Prime. And I'll be honest with you, I am really reaching here because, frankly, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I think this is one of the more perfect SUVs that is available on the market right now. Every vehicle that you look at is going to have some feature, something that you don't like. And the question is, are they things that you don't like that you can manage? And I think everything on here that I don't like is something that I can manage. So thing number one, we'll just start with something that I've already mentioned, and that is going to be this right here. I really hate wired-in Apple CarPlay when you have wireless charging. To me, that is a complete non sequitur. If you're going to have wireless charging, you should also have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. If you are not going to have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, ditch the wireless charger. It doesn't make sense. You're going to have to wire in anyway, and therefore you're charging anyway. So I feel like, okay, let's put a wireless charger on something and it'll sound really cool and it'll be a neat feature. Doesn't matter if you don't use it. I didn't use it once. So that's going to be thing number one on my do not like list. Again, not a huge deal. I just didn't use it. Thing number two on my do not like list is going to be the position of these cup holders. Now, the cup holders themselves are really good. They have little prongs that pop out. They hold in my large water bottle as well as my little can of LaCroix. But here's the thing. They're right in the way of anything that you need to do with this gear shift. So if you are putting it into drive, you're going to be hitting this water bottle. If you are changing your drive modes, you're going to be hitting this water bottle. So again, not a huge deal, but it's just not an ideal location. In my world, what I would have done is I would have ditched the wireless charger. I would have put these cup holders in front of the gear shift, and then two birds, one stone. Now, another thing that I noticed that I didn't particularly like on this vehicle is there is a lot of wind noise that creeps in to the cabin when you are driving on the highway. And it's primarily noticeable when you are in electric only mode. So as soon as the engine pops on, the wind noise kind of goes away. And the wind noise itself wasn't an egregious problem. It was just something that I noticed. I'm one of those weird people who likes to drive in silence or listen to a podcast when I'm on a long trip. And so it was something that I noticed more than maybe somebody who plays music would. But just worth noting, make sure you test this on the highway. If wind noise is a trigger for you, make sure it doesn't bother you. Now, the final thing that I don't like about this vehicle is going to be the price tag. I think that this has a lot of great amenities. I love the plug-in hybrid. I love the instantaneous acceleration. I love the 302 horsepower. I love the seating comfort. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I just wish it didn't cost me $50,000. So the as-tested price of this vehicle is just under $50,000. So this is the XSE trim. I've mentioned that before. It added a couple of pricey options, including the premium audio and the premium package. So that's where you get your heated and cooled seats. That's where you get your heated steering wheel. That's where you get this nice 9-inch screen. So a lot of great features. Oh, and a part of the premium package was also the 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger. So, you know, a lot of good things for the money, but it's still $50,000. Now, the base price is going to be $38,000 or just under $40,000 when you add the destination fees. So that's definitely a little bit more manageable, but you're not going to get as much of the cool stuff. However, you'll probably still get some really good seat comfort. You will still get the instantaneous torque, and you will still get the excellent range. So if you don't need all of the extra little whistles and bells, or bells and whistles as people tell me it's supposed to be said, then maybe $38,000, $39,000 for the base SE is right for you, and that is certainly much more palatable. For me, I want the panoramic moonroof, I want the heated seats, I want the heated steering wheel. So $50,000. So that is the last thing on my do not like list, and frankly, I think none of the things that I didn't like are deal breakers. Now that I've talked about what I like and what I don't like on the RAV4 Prime, it is time to wrap up this review. At the end of the day, with instantaneous torque, excellent seating positions, and some really great fuel economy, whether you're in all EV mode or you're using your gasoline engine. I think this is a winner. And that, frankly, is why I think this is one of the more perfect SUVs out there. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.